Welcome everyone to our final week of the term. So this week we're going to explore our population growth. So as our human population continues to grow, we will continue to utilize more and more of Earth's resources. So that means that as we utilize those resources, we make less and less resources available for the rest of the organisms on Earth. And so, as our population grows, we need to come up with more sustainable solutions. This will not only help our growing population continue to survive as those resources dwindle, but hopefully allow for other organisms to survive as well. So we're going to delve into this idea of urban sustainability and sustainable development solutions. So let's check out our module introduction. So by the end of this week, you will be able to describe how an environmental practice can be applied to address issues caused by population growth. So this week, it's pretty easy as long as you've completed your environmental issues project and submitted that. Okay, so you're going to just read the chapter readings and prepare for the discussion board post. We have some career resources that you can use to help you basically explore a little bit more if you're interested in a career in environmental science, and then respond to your peers for the discussion board post. So you'll again take a look at our population growth in Module 8. So the idea of how our population grows, we need to be able to grow sustainably, because as you know, we learned from the very first module, we are using more resources than the Earth can supply. So if everybody, we learned at the very first discussion board post with our eco footprint, if everybody on Earth used the same resources as you, a population of you, we would need more Earths to supply us. And so as our population grows, how do we do that in a sustainable way? And so we're going to learn more about ecosystem destruction and fragmentation and things like that, but also how we can grow in a more sustainable way through something called smart growth and urbanism, new urbanism. Okay, so these new urban planning principles that can allow for urban sprawl and urban development, but in a more sustainable way. So you'll explore some of that in your chapter readings this week. We'll also look at population growth models. So this is basically looking at more of like statistical approaches to population, looking at birth and death rates and carrying capacity and things like that, and applying them to human growth rates. So this is something that we do in ecology. So if you continue on with environmental science, you'll learn more about that. All right, so let's look at our resources that we'll cover this week. So basically it is just your chapter reading. So we'll cover chapters 6 and 18 this week. So in chapter 6, we'll look at population changes through a branch of science known as demography. Okay, so demography is looking at basically how populations change. And then chapter 18 deals with the aftermath of the expanded population. So the idea of urban sprawl and the solutions, possible solutions that we could use to solve that issue. So as you're reading the chapters, see if you can answer these questions. So what is the impact on resources in an expanding human population? How will we as individuals play a part in preservation of resources? And what can be done to decrease our footprint on the planet as individuals, a community, and a global population? So again, as you're reading these 2 chapters, see if you can answer these questions or at least jot some notes down, because that'll help you formulate your discussion board post. And then if you notice down here, we have some additional resources for you. So if you are in the environmental science major, we do have some tools for you to help you kind of start thinking about career paths. So you can see that we have some internships available, or links to them. We have career services and so forth. For everybody, doesn't matter if you're going into the environmental science field or not. We have our career center and resume building tool, interview tool, prep, and other professional tools link here. Okay. And then we also have a lab on demographics that you can use. Again, this is an optional resource, but this lab is useful just to kind of help us understand what happens over time with basically how populations grow, different human populations. So if we take a look, you can just click on the Open Simulator. And in this case, this is called an age structure model. So this is of the United States, and we can see that this is the United States in the year 2015. And you can see the right side is the population of females and the left side is the population of males. And the entire population of 321 million people have been divided into what we call age cohorts. So the age cohorts you can see are on the y-axis. So we have ages 0 to 4, ages 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and etc., all the way up to 100 to 104. So we've divided the population into these different age cohorts, and then you can see on the right hand side are females, on the left hand side are males. And what this can use is we can actually see what the population does or predict what it does in the future if we keep this population at a birth rate of 1.98 births per woman and a death rate of 1.16% per year. So if the average woman has approximately 2 children and the average death rate is 1.16% per year, so overall growth is 0.78, we can actually see what happens to this age structure over time. Okay, so you can see here what this growth looks like. So it's projected, okay, and then we can run the simulation, and then we can see by, let's say, go ahead and pause it, 2050, you can see what's happening to the shape of this age structure model. Okay, so you can see that the growth rate has actually declined. Okay, we still have the birth rate as 2 children per woman, but look at the death rate has increased. Okay, and we can also see that after a projected period of time, the population started to decline. Okay, so you can play around with this model. You can change the birth rate. You can change, you can increase it, decrease it. You can change the death rate. You can change the country. Okay, so China has more people. All right. And you can see their age structure looks different. They implemented the one-child policy back in 1980, and so their age structure looks a little different. They have less young people because of that. You can see like a growing country Like for example, India, you can see is more triangular shaped. Okay, you could see a country like Italy is experiencing negative population growth, so they're almost, like a diamond shape. Okay, Nigeria is a very big growth rate, so they are a very triangle shape. So you can see that their population is growing quite extensively. All right. So you can play around with this simulation if you'd like. Okay, so this is just an optional thing for you. All right. And then as far as the assignment this week, there's only one, and it's our discussion board post. So you'll have an initial discussion board post, like always, that is due by Thursday midnight, and then you'll respond to 2 students' initial posts by Sunday midnight. The final due date for anything is Sunday midnight. So the term closes Sunday midnight. So you'll need to submit any assignments by Sunday midnight in order for them to be graded for final grades. Okay, it was great learning all about your environmental issues and learning a little bit about yourselves, and just a pleasure to work with you this term, and good luck with all of your future academic careers. Thank you, everyone.